Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups. The earth moves away from him.
What is your definition of success?
Definition of success? Oh, it's easy. Definition of success is
For
being
you.
happy.
Be happy?
Oh, for me?
Yeah, for yourself. I feel like we all have a different definition of success. Like, you may have someone who works at a hotel and they go from janitor to wanting to be a supervisor and maybe one day be a manager. And that person will consider himself successful.
I think whatever it is that you're doing that makes you, where you're trying to achieve success, I think at the end of the day, in whatever field it is, whatever you're putting your time into, success is going to be defined by having happiness. And happiness sometimes comes through like satisfaction, peace,
That's how you would define success
yeah,
for yourself.
I mean, for me particularly, my success is going to come from the satisfaction I have from achieving my goals. That brings me peace. That brings me realizing your potential, manifesting your dreams. That gives me joy, and that gives me peace, and then that makes me happy. So I think and then that can be in any category, in a lot of different things. There's joy with in your career. There's joy with some maybe a personal goal when you're training. There's joy with your family, certain relationships with your family, and there's joy in marriage. If you set the goals, then you have something to aim for, and then when you hit those, when you hit the mark, then satisfaction comes from having achieved, and you're happier. Yeah, it's more like an esoteric, like a nebulous thing. Like for instance, like I'm not saying, happiness is having a lot of money, because I know that's not happiness. Or neither. The other thing is happiness isn't necessarily being in a relationship with somebody for a long time. Having a 30-year marriage, on one hand, it looks fantastic, right? But you don't know what that one partner may have given up in order to achieve that 30-year marriage. Is there a 30-year marriage because one partner has taken control and is so dominating, and maybe the other person just acquiesced and gave up their own personal ambition? To me, that's not successful marriage, though they've been married for 30 years.
Maybe that's how they find that. That's how they define success.
Yeah.
Being married the longest.
And that's why I've been divorced. Because,
that's why I don't have a girlfriend. This is my definition of success is something completely different than from relationships and having a partner.
Yeah.
It does look incomplete, but if you see whoever is successful in one area of life, most of the time they have something that they are fully unsuccessful on.
Oh yeah,
They have to give up something in order to.
They're sacrifice, because the balance is extremely hard. The balance is extremely hard
and unrealistic, probably, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. I mean, so
or at least balance forever. Do you have to go through a very, very unbalanced season of your life to then maybe have some balance?
So you bring up a great point, because it's about perspective. So
that's the other thing.
The balance, in retrospect, it may look like you have balance while you're in the middle of it, and you don't have the benefit of looking back 10 years. But when you're on year 1 and year 2, it may seem incredibly unbalanced. Your life may seem day to day, maybe month to month, maybe even year to year. Your life looks a little unbalanced. But I'll put it to you this way: I was very selfish in college and in medical school with my time, because I knew my goal was to become a doctor, and I could not commit to a relationship. I just couldn't do it, because a relationship takes time, and a relationship, that time is going to be taken away.
Yeah.
And I needed that time. What for? To study. You got to study.
To work on your success.
Yeah, to work on the success. There's just no other way to do it, And if you have to work, like I had to work, now you have less time, So, and if you're trying to stay in shape, now you have less time. So it's hard to have a relationship that way.
there's a lot of people that use the excuse of I'm too busy to stay in shape. I feel like if you're out of shape, everything else falls apart. It's easier to stay in shape and have everything else be balanced than being out of shape and trying to keep up everything else, with everything else, all the work. I've done it. Like I've always tried to be in shape, but the one time that I focused so much on everything else that I let myself go, everything else got harder. Like I had to go back to the gym because then after a session I would be the clear mind and more focused, and then whenever I push myself in the gym, it makes me want to push myself outside the gym. So that's something there that and that's what I want people to get. Like when they say I'm too busy, I travel too much for because of my business and whatever they may have going on. I don't think that you should give yourself the excuse that you're too busy to be in shape or be healthy. Because if you're out of shape, unhealthy, once you get to where you want to be, then you don't have any health. If you get there, because you may die before you do.
Yeah.
Taking it to an extreme.
Yeah.
Like hopefully you don't die, but you won't. Like when you look back, or when you learn what you could do to stay in shape and sustain everything else, you'll see that you could have done it, staying in shape, staying healthy without sacrificing your health, and now having to make up for it and maybe even lose some years of your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. If your body is healthy, then your mind is healthy. The mere act of working out and straining yourself, resistance training, cardiovascular training, getting your heart rate up, it just naturally releases endorphins. It makes you happier. You feel accomplished. I mean, that's a sense of accomplishment.
The ideas start flowing better than not doing that. So if you think you need to focus so much on your job to make it work, that is probably not the best way to do it. Because now you're preventing yourself from getting new and better ideas and unplugging yourself from sitting on a desk in front of a computer or writing, whatever it is.
Yeah, working out has to be part of your success plan. It's got to be an integral part of your success plan. So, for instance, reading a book, passing a certification exam is part of your success plan. You have to integrate working out because it gives you stamina. It gives you strength. Just the mere fact that it improves your mood is going to help you focus a lot more. So, yeah, I feel the same way. But, getting back to like the perspective in terms of having a balanced or life. So the example that I was going to give was that I decided to not have any children until I reached my financial goals. And I gave myself a limit. I said, if I haven't reached my financial goals by the time that I'm 40, then okay, I'll accept where I'm at and I'll start a family then. And I worked really hard to get to where I wanted to get. And so I didn't, once I actually reached my financial goal at 40. And then I started my family at 41. I had my first child. And then went on to have 3 children over the course of the next 5 years. And it may look like, if you looked at my life between 2000 and 2010, it may seem incredibly unbalanced. It may seem like, oh, this is somebody who spent all of his time working, spent all of his time studying, working. But then if you look at it between 2010 and 2020, you say, oh, this is a family man, who's already providing an amazing lifestyle to his family, to his children.
People don't see that.
Who apparently, it appears like I didn't work. Because I mean, for the most part, I was essentially retired. I mean, I wasn't going into work. I was setting my own schedule and working pretty minimally. And if I didn't want to work for 3 months, 5 months at a time, I didn't.
You could.
I didn't do anything. So, but that was only achieved, through the investment between 2000 and 2010, the investment of time into myself to get me to a level that then I had higher earning power. And then from that higher earning power, then I was able to start a business. And that business, I was able to move that into sort of a stratospheric type of wealth, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of the life that I lived, my family, where I came from,
Because you come
been
from
tremendous.
you come from not having everything.
No, I mean my mom raised me. We lived in roach infested 1-bedroom apartments throughout Los Angeles. I have about 9 different places that I lived in growing up. Every year, my mom and I moved. You know, and it's no fault of hers, but she just didn't have any earning
means,
power.
yeah.
We were also living in Los Angeles at a time when it was legal to reject tenant applications that had children involved. So my mom and I would go looking for a new apartment together and knocking on the door. And I remember knocking on the manager's door and they see me and they're like, "We don't accept kids," and they slam the door, in our face.
How's that? Why? Like
That's the way it was in the 70s.
If she had a kid, she couldn't lease an apartment.
Yeah, so in the 1970s
Why?
in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
it was illegal to
It's rejected, but-
reject tenant applicants who had children.
It should be the other way. Right?
That's-
Like if
that's
you
the
have a
way it
kid,
was. Yeah,
Let's get
that's
you.
the way it was. And so it really sort of limited the supply of available apartments.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the apartments that were available were just not,
plus you were already
Pleasant.
limited by the budget.
we were extremely
No,
limited by the
no.
budget. I mean, but you know what? I got to live all around Koreatown, all around, parts of East LA, and I was always moving to a different school. Lived in many different schools.
Yeah.
I mean, some parents really freak out about not having geographical stability for their children, or the fact that their children are moving from school to school, and that didn't matter to me. That didn't bother me,
Yes.
because as long as you had the love of your parent is giving, and love is by attention, attention, care, concern. You get attention and care from your parent. As a child, you can overcome any adversity. Any adversity. You can overcome war. I mean, not that I have personal experience with it, but you hear stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, well, what you did probably was because of that mainly, right? Because you grew up that way.
I grew up that way. It
If
didn't
you had
affect
more,
me.
if you had more things, maybe you would have been satisfied with doing less than what you have done.
Oh yeah, meaning I wouldn't have had the fire lit
Yep,
under me to
the
become more
drive,
ambitious.
yeah, mhm.
Yeah.
The ambition, yeah.
Yeah, it was because I became at an early age my mom's protector. I saw how much she was working. She had 3 jobs at one point, and she, we were taking the bus everywhere because she didn't have a car, and we were rushing to the bus stop, and I was taking the bus on the street to the freeway, then to the street to where we needed to be. That's what people are doing every day, like right now, and that didn't define me. It motivated me,
Yeah.
and my biggest motivation was I saw how hard my mom was working for us and how much she was sacrificing for us. That as a little boy, I just wanted one day to be able to give her the same amount of security and financial support that she had given me. And so I'm very happy to say that I've been supporting my mom since for the last 28 years.
All right. But it probably took a while for you to get there, right? Like it wasn't like.
Oh yeah, it did take a while. But it took. I'll tell you when it happened. It took 2002 when I finished my residency and I got my first paycheck as an ER doc. And I went from making $3,000 a month as a resident to $35,000 a month as an ER doc.
Wow.
And it seemed like I had
Like,
I
Mom,
never had money like that.
retired.
So I literally, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Got my first check. I was like, "Mom, quit your job. I'm going to get you a house, and
That's
I'm going to support you."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's it. And honestly, on $35,000 a month, I mean, this is like,
And back in
over 20
2000,
years
yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah. 20 years
That
ago,
was-
over 20 years ago, that's a
That's
lot
like
of money.
50 or 60.
Maybe 50
right
now. Yeah. That's a ton of money.
That's, yeah, it's
So
more
it was easy to take care of her.
nice.
And I was the only child as well, and my mom was the only parent.
yeah.
So
that was your whole goal.
yeah, I was able to manage her finances, or actually to support her finances pretty easily.
So going back to the having children part, because that's a belief that I have, and I believe everything we say are beliefs that we have. We're all different, and we all have different beliefs. But I have the same belief that I don't want to have children until I am, quote unquote, financially secure, or until I get to where I want to be and have everything, so I can give everything to my kids, or not give everything, because that's another issue with some kids. but have everything that I need, so I and they don't struggle, and their mom, whoever their mom is at the time. Do you think you would have been okay with having children before getting to where you get?
No
do you
way.
Think, do you think?
No way.
Now, do you think you would have gotten to where you got with while having your children?
In my particular situation, no way. I couldn't have done it.
It would have been like
Some people have done it. I mean, not
broken
some people.
family.
Obviously, a lot of people have done it, but not that many people. There's a reason why. Okay, you look at Latin culture, okay, and I was even listening to a comic today, and he was really, really funny, and he's an Indian comic, and he was talking about the different ethnicities that he wished he could have dated before he settled on his wife, and he said, "Oh, I never dated a Latina." He goes, "Yeah, man. I would have been great to date a Latina, but I wasn't ready to start a family." And everybody laughed,
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
And I was like, oh, because the stereotype, get mad at it if you want, but the stereotype is that the Latin community does not value education. They value family, which is beautiful. But why can't you value family after you've already achieved a certain career, a certain level of success? And so,
different definition of success.
A different definition of success. Why continue the generational struggle? This generational financial struggle.
They don't see it that way. Because it's another cultural thing, because they think money is the devil.
I don't know.
I didn't grow up with a, how do you call it, like money.
We'll talk about how you grew up. Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Cuba.
Yeah, so that's a completely different governmental system that brainwashes.
I didn't have any money culture, like money education.
Right.
If you have, of course, yeah, the government gives you everything.
The government provides for everything. You don't need you don't need ambition.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And if you're looking for ambition, there must be something wrong for you. There's something wrong with you.
Yeah, you're different. You're not allowed to be different.
Right.
Yeah. So it takes a while to break out of that shell, and but once you do, I mean, you see that it's not really how they sell it to you. It's not having money is good. Once you have money, most of your worries go away. If you have money to take care of a really bad illness or something happens to your mom, whatever.
Yeah.
You have money, you're fine. You're like, oh yeah, I can take care of my mom.
Yeah.
You can raise a family.
Yeah.
Without having to work 2 jobs, so you can be there for your family.
Yeah.
And it's a whole. I'm still learning, of course. But it's just taking the first step and surrounding yourself with people that are where you want to be, of course. That's one of the main things, right? And just seeing that the money is not the devil. It's not.
No.
It's actually good. The more money you have, the more you can do for others. The more you can give back. The more good things you can do for.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with rewarding yourself for your hard work.
Yeah.
You worked really hard, and you make a lot of money, and you buy yourself an exotic car.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's values. Everybody has a different, value system.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, people can be egregious. They can be excessive. They can be incredibly self-centered and narcissistic, and that's bad. Yeah. And hopefully, your friends and your family can tell you.
Money is like steroids. Money is like steroids. They amplify who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a gritty, whatever, with money you're gonna be a gritty, rich dude.
Maybe a grittier person.
Yeah,
less,
a grittier person. Yeah.
Less selfless. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But if you're humble, now you're gonna give back to people. Now you're gonna give more, and now you're gonna maybe do something for the people around you.
Yeah, you see that with a lot of athletes. Like, I'm impressed with many athletes, come from disadvantaged backgrounds, poor economic backgrounds. They become professional athletes. They achieve, these tremendously high contracts. Mm-hmm. They have high value, high earning power. And I'm impressed with how many of them give back to their communities, and they give back to their parents. The athlete taking care of his mama or his family, or, is a beautiful story. It's a common story. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful story. So
if they didn't have the money, then
they didn't have the money. Right. They wouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. Versus the athlete who was raised by his parent, the parent who sacrificed, and the athlete ignores the parent. That's an uncommon story. So I think you're right. Yeah,
that's
money
right.
is sort of like steroids. It amplifies who you
Yeah,
are.
that's what we are.
Yeah.